Good day, distinguished guests and scholars, students, and members of the Cornell community. It's a great honor to be with you here in memory of Kanzi. And I would like to thank Professor Laurent Dubril and Professor Kathy Caruth for organizing this important event, and to Dr. Susa Vedramba for making this memorial for Kanzi and his legacy possible. It is a very difficult task for me to present my work with Kanzi in 8 minutes, but it will suffice for me to give a few examples from my master's and my PhD dissertation in evolutionary anthropology findings to show what a contribution to humanity Kanzi, together with his sister Panbanisha, had made. Both were members of the bonobo chimpanzee Wamba pan-homo culture, and both were competent in English language via lexigram keyboard. I want to mention here Professor Dwayne Rumbaugh and Elizabeth Rupert Pugh for enabling, with Sue Savage Rumbaugh, the Wamba family scientific breakthroughs, the methodology, and their existence. Kanzi was a pioneer, a first to cross the seemingly impassable wall of human uniqueness. His demonstrated competency with English language at a level admissible of giving testimony in a court of law, as Panbanisha did as well. Their testimonies given were about past traumas, corroborated by a third party, in this case, Sue. And they support their reception of writ of habeas corpus. Habeas corpus means the right to stand trial, the right to an attorney, and freedom from involuntary imprisonment. And I won't go into details about the different testimonies that both Kanzi had given me. Maybe at the end, if there'll be a minute left, we will be able to go into that. And Pam Benisha gave testimony about traumas that happened to her as well. Kanzi exhibited phenotypically what Professor Morris Goodman, with his colleagues, one of whom is present here, we've just heard, Professor Derek Wildman, proved genotypically with Morris via genomic sequencing that chimpanzees, bonobo chimpanzees, are members of the early Homo genus as sister species to humans. And Kanzi has proven this phenotypically with Panbanisha. To give an example, Kanzi, along with Panbanisha, exhibited competency in creating iconographic representational imagery and recollecting their meanings across time at a level that was parallel to cave art petroglyphs in human cultural terms. And this was my master's study, showing that Kanzi and Panbanisha were able to create icons, petroglyph-like markings that had meaning to them across time, and they remember these representational icons that they had created. And also, Kanzi with Panbanisha created, this is in my PhD with them, created stone, antler, wooden tools, bone tools on par with pre-agricultural toolkits of hominins, of course, because they should be in the reclassification, as Professor Morris Goodman showed with Professor Derek Wildman and Professor Monica Undine, that they should be in Homo genus. it's unsurprising to know that Kanzi was able to create stone tools, antler tools, wooden tools on par with pre-agricultural toolkits for extracting resources, and creating homotype stone tools from the different types of stone tool kits and of the Oldovan cultures up to pre-Acheulean. Kanzi was my co-author, my close friend, and my teacher. Kanzi was an honorary board member of the Jane Goodall Institute, Israel, at my college, the Max Stern Israel Valley College. May Kanzi live on in hominid and hominin personhood rights for sanctuary, self-determination, protection of their cultural diversity in Africa, with the forests and the savanna environments they call home. Thanks to the work with Kanzi, I was able to go to Africa, to Mali in West Africa, to study chimpanzee cultural diversity there. And of course, it supported what we have shown with Kanzi and Pambanisha. And their cultures of Kanzi, Pambanisha, chimpanzees, bonobo chimpanzees, their cultures are part of humanity's ancient prehistoric heritage. Kanzi showed us we are not alone. But if we continue to lock up our sister species and destroy their forests and all other biodiversity that they live with, we soon will be alone. Kanzi, I'll just show here on the screen. We'll see if we have a bit more time to go into it in a bit. Here we can see that I hope you can see the etching here on the top left side of the screen. Kanzi sent me a letter from his so-called prison in the form of a Hebrew high symbol. This is the high symbol that that we see here that Kanzi etched with his fingernails. After he, when I did my master's research with him, I drew on the walls of his room the high symbol and different Jewish symbols that I was aware with through my upbringing. And Kanzi, after 5 months after Kanzi was working with me on these Jewish symbols, and we can see here on the screen that the Hebrew symbols are here on the left. My symbols are in the middle, and Kanzi's symbols are on the right. And 5 months after our sessions, when I drew the Hebrew symbols of High, the one that we see here in the first section, and the symbol for the eye that we see in the middle section, and the one below, which is the hand sign, all of these Kanzi has drawn on his blankets and sheets, just as I had drawn on his walls in his room. And 5 months after we had this session, Kanzi sent me a letter. He took his laminated lexigram sheet with the 420 symbols that he communicates with regularly to convey testimony. So he took the laminated sheet, he ripped it open, and on the white paper in the middle of the lamination, he etched the high symbol, which translates in Hebrew to life and prosperity. And only I could recognize this word And he left this letter, his etched high symbol, which means in Hebrew life and prosperity. He left it on his room floor for me. This is probably a first letter from a non-human hominin to a human. This is Kanzi'S will and testament to live in our hearts and our minds to save his species by changing our ways. I'll just want for a moment to mention this. He actually succeeded in doing that, in changing our ways, and he actually succeeded in allowing us to tear down the walls of human uniqueness and to accept our sister species through Kanzi and Pambanisha and Wamba family, thanks to Sue, Dwayne, and Liz. He succeeded in doing that. Sadly, Kanzi was not allowed since 2013 to meet with Dr. Sue. So we will never have the final record of Kanzi's view on his captive situation, and we won't have the interview documentation of Kanzi and Sue's conversation in retrospect of their life together. Kanzi's revelations with Pambanisha and their Wamba family will continue to fill articles and books for decades to come and set legal precedents for rights of nature and hominid personhood. Neota and Tico are alive and deserve ecological and cultural rehabilitation sanctuary with the remaining members of their family. So let us listen to them. Neota still can communicate in lexigram English language. So before I end this, I just wanted to, if I have a minute, just to go over a little bit of the photographs, just going down memory lane with Kanzi. Here we see Pambanisha communicating, talking with Sue and Kanzi here at the top left corner. Here we can see all the facial expressions that are parallel between humans and bonobo chimpanzees in terms of the facial expressions across the different meanings, from anger, intimidation, size, surprise, happiness. They even um, Pambanisha, for instance, she used to write, and her tongue would stick out when she wrote, and she would scratch her chin, and Kanzi would scratch his chin when they're thinking. Here, I just want to give an example of the icons before I finish that Kanzi drew. Here we can see Kanzi who drew a giraffe in one of my experimental documentations of his icons that he created based on the animal object plant. And here we can see a rabbit that Kanzi drew exactly like we would anticipate from the petroglyphs of or cave art. Here we can see the shark that Kanzi made with the back fin and the side fins. And lastly, we can see a scorpion that Kanzi made with the two pincers, with the body, with the tail. Of course, Professor Laurent Jabril and Professor Kathy Caruth are continuing the research with Kanzi's art, which they have managed to collect data from. Here's an example of Kanzi's cave homotype tools that he had created in our research of the different scraper tools, axe, chopper, drill, shovel, and so on. Just to end with one quote that has been chosen by Nature as quote of the day in 2019. They quoted our manifesto that said, "We cannot continue to ignore Pan's suite of hominin traits shared at a level of sister species with humans, with the genetic evidence supporting their reclassification as early Homo." And this is based on the research of Professor Morris Goodman, Professor Derek Wildman, Professor Monica Odin. Chimpanzees and bonobos should be added to the Homo genus and given the right to freedom and independence, argue evolutionary anthropologists and colleagues. So thank you very much. Here we can see Kanzi's peace dove that he drew after I drew on behind me on the wall a peace dove and a child's drawing to my side in purple and yellow background, Kanzi drew this piece of, and it shows really who Kanzi is and how we should remember him. Thank you so much.